Coming into season 2, I knew I was going to be thoroughly entertained by the new adventures and magical elements that were teased in the trailer, but I didn't think I was going to ugly cry a couple of times. This show really got deep all of a sudden, like it touched my soul in ways I would never expect. Let's get into it. Hi everyone! Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today, I'm going to discuss all things Season 2 of Netflix's Hilda, which I have just finished watching about a week ago. So I want to use this video as an opportunity for me to give you my thoughts on the season on an episode per episode basis. And of course, this will be a spoiler video, so please be warned before you proceed any further. Before I start, I just want to say this. This season blew my expectations out of the water. It had moments which I didn't think this series was capable of delivering, or at least had the guts to do it. Apart from the emotional moments, episode 9, we also witnessed some pretty dark moments for a kids show, such as on-screen murder and resurrection. I mean, season 1 did have a couple of dark moments, like when David was rolling that rune stick on the ground in a cemetery, while Hilda recites an incantation to raise the ghost of Craigie Williams, but all of that doesn't really compare to what happened in season 2. So overall, I was pleasantly surprised with the turn that Hilda has taken. Without further ado, let's get started with this discussion, starting with season 2, episode 1. We are introduced to the season's antagonist, Eric Alberg, the head officer of Trolberg Safety Patrol, who announces to Hilda that she won an opportunity to go on a ride-along with him and Associate Deputy Officer Gerda to inspect the city's troll defenses. I actually thought Eric was going to be someone likable, but boy was I wrong. All he cares about is being famous and taking all the credit for quote-unquote protecting the residents of Trolberg, when in reality, he's really annoying and not to mention pretty incompetent. Gerda, on the other hand, is so much more tolerable than him. Side note, when Hilda was taking off with Safety Patrol on their blimp from her school, I can't help but notice how Miss Hallgrim still looks as mad as ever, even when this moment was supposed to be exciting for everybody. She just needs to chill out. Oh, and just for fun, I also made a tally for all the times Hilda lied to her mom, Joanna, which I will be updating throughout my commentary of the season. In fact, the tally is already 2 after this episode. The Woodman, who I usually try to defend, kinda got on my nerves a little bit in this episode. He just did not want to let go of that dang coral sextant, whatever that is, which got him and poor Hilda into so much trouble with the Draugen. Luckily, everything got resolved and the sailor ghosts even got to reunite with their loved ones in this surprisingly emotional scene at the end. Anyways, I forgave the Woodman after he made the executive decision to dress Twig up like a sailor. So cute. Now, episode 3 was a fantastic episode. I love how the librarian, whom we finally know her name now, Kaisa, got a chance to shine here. We also got confirmation that she's a witch. No surprises there. But what threw me for a loop was finding out that Frida has the natural gift of being a witch over Hilda. Prior to this, I really thought that the show was going to dive deeper into Hilda's magical abilities, but I actually liked this new revelation. It was nice to see Kaisa kick butt using her magic, although this one scene here made me laugh out loud. We also meet a bunch of other witches living in Trolberg, such as the Committee of 3, who quite frankly are a bunch of party poopers. Especially the short-haired one. I just don't like her. Another witch we were formally introduced to is the old lady Hilda briefly met in season 1, Matilda, also known as Tildy, and now she wants to train Frida to hone in her magic, which is very exciting. I think Frida is really suited to be a witch, and it's neat to know that Kaisa was Tildy's former student. First of all, David has great taste in music. I really like that song he was listening to. Anyways, in this episode, David wishes he's less of a scaredy cat and braver like Hilda and Frida. I definitely prefer David for being his authentic self, instead of being this gung-ho Viking warrior person, which quite frankly is kinda scary to see this sort of personality coming out of David's body. Plus, the way he screams when he's absolutely terrified never fails to have me rolling on the floor laughing.
Those stones are really screaming.
But I want to ask you all something. How does death work on this show? Like, real talk. When I first saw the Viking warriors getting dismembered like a bunch of Legos, I thought to myself, what a strange looking way to die. Why do their body parts glow after being sliced by those weapons? Also, David, who is supposed to be human, getting decapitated not just once, but twice, was so weird to watch. I mean, I don't expect to see blood on this show, but all of this just looks so comedic to me. And does this mean that none of the characters on Hilda can die since Sigurd, the Swamp Man, can just, revive them all? Look who's back to cause more trouble, Victoria Van Gale. This time, she went from being a mad scientist in season 1 to being some crazy bird lady to now getting exposed as a witch in season 2. Wow, there's so many witches this season. However, Victoria is a special kind of witch, the kind who practices black magic, reanimation to be exact. And she uses it to conjure up a House Nissa of her own so that she can use it to gain free access to Nowhere Space, which she says could help free up land space for Trolberg. I understand Victoria's intentions and how she views herself as doing good for the world, but it's just the way she goes about these things, It's so over the top. After her machine goes haywire, Victoria finds herself staying back inside Nowhere Space, but then she goes through another portal which takes her to an empty beach for some reason. Where is she exactly? I have no idea. We see that Frida has been doing some witch magic homework of her own. We all know how much of a perfectionist and book smart Frida is, so learning about intricate spells and incantations should be right up her alley. And she actually gets to demonstrate what she's learned during Operation Deerfox Thunder Team's stealth mission to disrupt the automated bell tower system that was set up by Eric. Speaking of Eric, I legit thought that he died from being crushed by that huge bell landing on top of him, but fortunately for him and unfortunately for us, he was just trapped inside it. Dang. Anyways, I really enjoyed watching the team work together to disable the bells, which has been a complete nuisance for everyone except for Trolberg Safety Patrol. And it was nice to see the bellkeeper helping Hilda out in the end, even if he's not supposed to. He probably just wants to save his job from being made redundant thanks to automation.
I've got to use the bathroom.
In episode 7, we head back to Cauldron Island and get reacquainted with the Lindworm from season 1, who's in danger of getting captured by Safety Patrol because sailors have accused her of sinking their ships, including the Woodman's, who's also missing his body. David and Alfred try to convince the Lindworm to evacuate the island, but she's not one to back down and even sports some pretty cool armor for battle. Eventually, we find out it's been the Kraken's doing the entire time, who's just trying to feed her babies with some wood. Frida uses her magic to let the Kraken know their intentions and that they don't mean any harm, which all worked out for everyone in the end. So, does this mean that the Kraken is Frida's familiar? Although I don't think she will be able to interact with it much since it will probably go back to sleep for a really long time. Other than that, Hilda lies to Mom a bunch of times in this episode, which brings the Hilda lie tally up to 6. I knew Joanna was going to flip out at Hilda when she came home. I could sense it. However, their whole big argument and Joanna grounding Hilda at the end actually caught me off guard. Hilda, just tell your mom the truth. It ain't that hard. This episode went Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Part 3 on us, with the whole time traveling and creating alternate timelines aspect, which I'm not mad at any of it, but there was a lot going on in the episode. We find out that Hilda's neighbor, Mr. Peter Ostenfeld, has been time traveling back 50 years into the past in order to relive a romantic moment he shared with a young woman at a concert hall who turned out to be Tildy. They definitely make a really cute couple, both past and alternate present. Hilda tries to help him change the past so that they can end up being together, but unknowingly creates this whole mess of multiple Hildas from different timelines converging into one, which eventually triggers a time worm to threaten the existence of the current timeline Hilda's in. Confusing, I know. Anyways, long story short, Tildy and Mr. Austenfeld from the newly created timeline decided to sacrifice themselves and them being together in order to save the old timeline. This was definitely one of the most emotionally charged episodes, especially the part when Tildy was like, "We already lived through our time being together and that's what matters." Ooh, that was such a good line. Hands down, my favorite episode of the season and arguably the series thus far. This was the episode that made me bawl like a baby. I legit thought that Twig was going to stay with his family and not come back to Hilda, but I'm so glad it didn't happen. But isn't it funny how this episode was trying to make it seem like Twig has been ignored a lot lately by Hilda and Joanna, but really it's only in this episode. I mean, I felt like they have been taking really good care of Twig and paying him loads of attention prior to the episode. Anyways, they definitely should have named this episode as Twig Alone, inspired by Avatar The Last Airbender's Zuko Alone episode, because I got similar vibes seeing Twig going through all these adventures in the forest outside the wall alone. I was actually afraid for that rabbit that Twig was trying to eat. His natural predator instincts definitely kicked in here. So did his prey instincts when he was being hunted by that scary looking red wolf. Also, Twig looking like a poofy little puppy dog when he got all wet is the cutest thing ever in existence.
He's so happy I'm gonna die.
Besides that, I really love the flashbacks to how Hilda met Twig and how they had each other's backs, which carried on till today. Baby Twig is beyond cute. Skipping ahead to the part when Hilda says goodbye to Twig, that was so sad. I was in tears, let me tell you. It's like the Fox and the Hound all over again. When Hilda acted all fine at first, but after Twig had already left, and she proceeds to break down all of a sudden, that's literally me. And the part when it started snowing down on her when she's crying and Twig just shows up right in front of her was so perfect. When she said to him, "I thought I lost you," it instantly brought me back to that Disney movie Bolt, just because they have the song "I Thought I Lost You" in the movie. So many references, I know. Even the ending to this episode was amazing. I really hope the Deerfox will win Hilda an Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Animated Series or Outstanding Writing for an Animated Program in 2021. Coming from one of my favorite Hilda episodes, this episode definitely pales in comparison. It's not that it was bad or anything, it just didn't leave much of an impression on me. I don't really care much about these elves. They're kinda annoying, and their storyline about promising Grilla naughty children in exchange for sparing their lives is meh. Not very interesting, but I do like Grilla's design. It's certainly one of the scariest designs I've seen on Hilda. We bump into Trevor and his loser friends at the Winter Festival, and wow, Trevor's voice actor's voice certainly has gotten much deeper since we last heard him. And we also find out that his mom is just as bad, if not worse than him. The apple certainly does not fall far from the tree, that's for sure. Besides that, I don't really have much else to say about this episode really. I think my favorite moment was when David used his tips from selling their veggie broth to help Hilda buy her mom's gift. That was really sweet of him. Friends like David are one in a million. The Tight Mice are back. I was hoping that this season was going to address this unresolved plotline, since the Tight Mice snuck into Hilda's back in Season 1, Episode 8, and we haven't seen them since, till now in Episode 11. Instead of Hilda's friends and family, the mice decided to enchant a random Jorts delivery man named Gil Jones with good fortune after feeding them with some Jorts snacks. He swiftly gets promoted to a bunch of big shot positions in the company, all thanks to the mice that had multiplied in Jorts Company HQ, controlling the employees. Side note, when Kaiser called out businesses in general, and how they are a breeding ground for the Tight Mice because of all that greed, I was like clapping my hands because ain't that the truth? Anyways, as we've seen before, A negative side effect of their enchantment is putting the souls of the mortals they've enchanted in grave danger. The witches committee finds out about this, and they put all the blame on Hilda, which is reasonable. No shade though. Kaiser decides to help them capture all the Tide Mice so that the witches, including the witch in training, Frida, could perform the disenchantment. They look like Ghostbusters here. I also died laughing when Kaiser vacuumed up this man's toupee. And it seems like David has a cute, innocent crush on Kaiser. Well, who could blame him? Kaiser is amazing. Other thoughts I have? I really hope to see Gil again after this episode. You can tell that he's such a wholesome character who's one of the few Americans living in Trolberg. He reminds me so much of those models you see in those stock photos featuring blue-collar workers or something. Like, he gives off such a wholesome and pristine image. This episode tried to psych us all out once again by making us think that Alfred is leaving Trolberg, just like they did with Twig 3 episodes ago. But this time around, I wasn't as fooled. I knew Alfred wasn't going anywhere. Some of the highlights of this episode to me was getting a tour of Alfred's little bedroom. It looks so warm and comfy. Aw, he even has a photo of the Raven framed up on his wall. Why hasn't the Raven appeared this season yet? I really miss him. Other than that, it was cute to see how Alfred has his very own fangirl, Adeline from the delegation. They both definitely fancy each other. There was so much blushing going on. It was adorable. Also, isn't it amazing how the Lost Clan had Alfred's back the whole time he was forced to leave Trolberg? I think anybody would love to have someone like Agnes on their side and not against them. Fortunately, in the end, the delegation and his meant-to-be replacement Elvin all believed his Trolberg reports, and they're happy to let him stay on as the Trolberg correspondent. Thank goodness, because how can you possibly take Alfred away from his new home? That's just illegal. Side note, Gerda in this episode was so wholesome when she truly believed that Alfred is a spirit, and she just went along with whatever he said. Why she's working under a jerk like Eric is still a mystery, but even she admits that she's surrounded by people who doesn't get professionalism, which is pretty much Eric. So it's a matter of time till she resigns. Hopefully. We now arrive at the 45-minute long season finale, which was such a treat. I honestly feel so bad for Joanna lately because Hilda has been lying to her constantly. She just can't help herself. What I don't understand is why won't Hilda just tell her mom the truth of why she needs to go to Frida's house? I'm sure she will be able to understand. It's not like Joanna isn't aware of all the supernatural things that has already happened to them, am I right? And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just get so uncomfortable whenever I watch Hilda and Joanna argue, which happens quite often this season. Maybe it's because Hilda is creeping up on her teenager years, and that usually makes a person bratty, just saying. So Hilda tries to sneak out of the house, again, by going through nowhere space, but her mom catches her leaving, and it leads to this whole tug-of-war situation, which causes them both to fall into a creepy dark cave somewhere. The next morning, David and Frida head outside the wall to investigate where they could possibly be. Also, there's been a lot more troll rocks concentrated outside the walls and on the mountains lately than ever before, which alarms Eric and Gerda. Honestly, I can't stand Eric. He's so fame hungry. All he does is takes other people's credit despite being so terrible at his job, which ticks me off because I know plenty of people in real life like him. And did you notice that he tripped Frida here while they were running away from the explosion? Just utter incompetence. And Gerda is so over him, I mean, look at her face. Let me tell you, I was so happy when Frida accidentally turned him into a bug. Hallelujah. We don't have to listen to his annoying voice for much of the episode. Hilda, Joanna, and Twig come across a waterfall with a bunch of trolls hanging around. One of the trolls spots them, but they manage to find a hiding place amongst the bundles of food the troll has collected. It turns out, they've been inside the mountain near Trolberg the entire time, and all they have to do now is find a way to get home without getting caught. However, things don't run as smoothly as we would have liked because after a fight broke amongst the trolls, Twig unfortunately got caught up in the pile of food and was taken in by the bully troll back into the mountain. Joanna is like the MVP of this episode. First, she stood up to the Baba troll, that's what I'm naming it. And here, she bravely goes back into the mountain she just escaped to rescue Twig. We forever stand Joanna. Anyways, they find out that the troll and its baby are pretty nice because they took them in, fed them, gave them shelter, and even showed them the way out. That entire moment was really wholesome actually. Even David, Frida, and Gerda experienced a similar moment with another troll in the forest. Actually, most of the trolls are good. It's just this one that's the bad one. Luckily, they narrowly managed to escape the bully troll with the help of Elfer, David, Frida, and Gerda. Oh, and the White Wolf too. At the end of the episode, Frida uses the dust Hilda collected for her earlier in the episode to turn Eric back into human. Darn it, she should have just left him as a bug. And of course, he just had to say that he's the one who saved the day. Did I already mention I absolutely despise him? But the thing that really made me go WTF was when the Baba troll did some kind of spell to switch the head of Hilda with the head of its child. That was certainly unexpected. First of all, I didn't know that trolls can use magic. Maybe it's only this particular one. And I wonder what is the connection between that troll with Hilda, and why was he or she being so nice to her and Joanna and Twig back in the mountain? Could it be Hilda's dad possibly? I wonder. Maybe he got turned into a troll and nobody knew, including Joanna. I've always been curious to find out whatever happened to Hilda's dad. Maybe the movie will tell us. We'll see. Well, for what it's worth, at least Hilda got her wish.
It's not fair. I wish I was a troll.
In conclusion, Hilda Season 2 was undoubtedly a step up from Season 1. I like how certain characters like Twig and Elfer got their very own episodes dedicated to them, and even Joanna had some pretty incredible moments during the season finale. And I actually don't mind that things ended on a cliffhanger this season, since we already know that at the very least, Hilda will get a movie after this. So it's not like the whole switcheroo with the baby troll will never be addressed, thank goodness. Hilda is one of those shows that really knows how to balance itself in being a show that's entertaining to kids, but at the same time, it allows adults like me to make a connection with it as well. Specifically with all the emotional moments that got me all up in my feels. This show is definitely a series for all ages. I hope more and more people will start getting into it because it has so much to offer to pretty much everyone from all walks of life. I want to thank you all for watching my recap and review of Hilda Season 2. Please like and share this video if you can, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to check out more content just like this. I want you all to have a great day ahead. Happy New Year, and I will see you all soon. Bye.